Hey, this is Mr. B's Art Room. Today we're going to start doing some basic skills. Make sure you got a good eraser and a number 2 pencil. We're going to start by doing all shading. So something that we learned in 7th grade is that we just learned about all the parts of shading. So the first thing we're going to do on this page is we're just going to take any piece of paper. We're going to sketch out a circle. Now, Mr. Bernholt, a lot of kids will say, how do you make such a perfect circle? Well, that is not perfect. I am not perfect. You are not perfect. And that's what makes us awesome. So don't be afraid to sketch something out. I make a really rough sketch. I don't have to trace anything. I just think about a circle. And the more you practice making circles, eventually you can just make one just like mine. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to figure out with this circle where the light is hitting it. If I have the light hitting it directly overhead, I'm just going to indicate with a little arrow here that it's hitting the top. I know that wherever the light is hitting the object, opposite is going to be the darkest. So down here is going to be my shadow side of the ball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use heavy pressure on my number 2 pencil, and I am going to shade the bottom of this sphere using heavy pressure with my pencil. Now you notice when I am shading, I am trying to curve my line as I'm shading and using a little bit more of the side of the pencil instead of the very tip of the pencil. Okay? Try not to use the tip of the pencil because all you're going to do are going to get these lines. We want to make this nice and soft. So to give that quality, we're going to use the pencil more at an angle, and I'm going to go back and forth across this edge to create a shadow. Now it almost looks like the circle has a beard at this point. I'm going to bring this up about a third of the way across. Okay, kind of looks like me when I grow a beard. Okay, bald on the top, beard at the bottom. Okay, so you're going to make a Mr. B first. Secondly, up here towards the top is where the light is going to be the most bright. That's the highlight area. Okay, so up here in the top, that's called a highlight. And down here at the bottom, that's called a shadow. Okay. And everything in between here are all going to be values that go from our darkest value, which is the shadow, to our lightest value, which is the highlight. In a piece of paper, our white paper is our highlight. So what I have to do is I have to vary the amount of pressure that I add to my pencil to create something to make it look rounded or three-dimensional. So I'm going to start adding a little bit of pencil at a time in sections. So I'm going to do a section here. That's got a lot of pencil, but not as much pencil as that first section. So I'm going to do that here in another band. And then in the next section, I'm going to add a bunch of pencil, but make this section different from the last section. So, whoop. That is how I deal with changing classes now. Putting an alarm on here, make sure that I stay on track. Now, I have 1, 2, 3 sections. They're all different. As I go into the next section, I'm barely touching the paper, but still adding enough pencil so that it is making contact with that paper. When I get up here to the top, my pencil is really going to be just barely touching it. And then up here at the very, very top, I'm going to leave that alone. And now at this stage, you have like all the values that you're going to use in the top. We want to make the top of this a really bright white. So I'm going to get rid of this line that defines the edge And we're going to call this is called the lost edge. Okay. So the lost edge there is kind of determined by the fact that it's different from the rest of the values there. So I'm going to get rid of all the lines so that I don't end up with something that looks like it's outlined. Outlining, bad. Shading, good. So if I move in on this a little bit, I want to show you. If I get up close to this, I want you to see that you don't want to end up with what I call a Neapolitan shading. Okay, Neapolitan ice cream, if you're aware of what that is, it's bands of 3 different colors, and you can clearly see where the chocolate and the strawberry and the vanilla are. We wanted the pencil to change slowly. So what I'm going to do here in between is I need one to change right into the next value. So I'm going to add a little bit more pencil where one transitions to the other one. Now, many of you may know or have heard of Ombre. So I have a lot of kids that actually say in my class, "Could I make this ombre?" Yes. So what you're basically doing with ombre is that you are changing the value so that one is going to slowly change into the other. Instead of getting a striped shirt that looks like Charlie Brown with the yellow and black, you're getting a smooth transition from one color to the next. So all I'm doing in this step is I'm trying to mix the pencil together just by adding a little bit here and there where I see that change, where I see that Neapolitan ice cream. Don't want that. So I'm just taking my pencil and just going over this just repeatedly until I start to see that it's like fading one into the next one. Okay, so that's creating a 3D shape. Now the next part that we have to worry about here is we need to make sure that anything that we draw with a light source is going to have also a cast shadow. And a cast shadow is a shadow that's created by the actual object itself, and it is completely devoid. That's the word for today, devoid. It's not like the bulls or anything like that. Devoid. Devoid means it's completely eliminates, or there's none at all, no light in the cast shadow. It's devoid of all light. So that means that when I'm using my pencil, I am completely blocking out any white that's trying to creep up underneath from that white piece of paper. Get out of here, white. I'm getting rid of all that white by covering it up with pencil. And you see, if I just kind of fade this out, now I'm doing the same thing I did on the ball, taking that cast shadow, and I'm slowly fading it out. Because light doesn't just quickly change. It usually just kind of fades out because some of the white light is kind of creeping around the side there. And the best way to do this is just kind of play around with the different shading. Try different things. Okay, so we have a highlight up here at the top. That's our white area of the paper. We have a bunch of different values from this side going all the way down to where my shadow is. These are all different values of gray that are filling in this space in between the shadow, which is here, and the highlight up here. Cast shadow down here. That is completely, what's the word? devoid of any white paper. So you want to give that a try with a sphere.